Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for July 17th, 2024. Our first item of business is to make sure that we have a quorum, which we do, since we have all 5 members, and then to review and hopefully approve the meeting minutes for June 19th. I had a chance to look at them. I didn't see any mistakes, corrections, or anything like that, but any board members have any concerns, corrections, questions? All right, I'll make a motion that we adopt the meeting minutes for June 19th as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. All right. All right, we don't have any new applications. That's odd. But we don't have any tonight. The first matter that's on is the Williams matter. I understand Mr. Williams will get to provide additional measurements. Yeah, so we don't have them yet.
Right.
All right. So that'll be put over to.
So the way that we had left it was that we had asked Mr. Williams to finalize it back in June. He asked for another month, and it was Gretchen emailed him and said that we put it on for July. If he hadn't had the final measurements by then his application will be taken off the agenda until a date to be determined once he gets those to us. So I would say that we'll continue the public hearing to a date to be determined. Once that date is determined, he will have to, we'll renotice the public hearing and we'll send the notice to the neighbors.
So it's going to be taken off the agenda.
Take it off the agenda until a date to be determined.
All right.
So can I have a motion to, would you mind making a motion to continue it to a date undetermined?
Usually I've never done that, but yeah, I'll do it.
We haven't had this before.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever had this before.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we continue the public hearing to a date indeterminate in the future, assuming Mr. Williams comes up with the measurements we need. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. All right, now we'll be taken off the agenda. All right, Mr. West, come on up. And thank you for the additional information, the measurements and all that.
Sure.
So if you could, obviously you've been through this process before.
Yes.
Many times.
Many times.
And for those who don't know, Mr. West served for 27 years on this board, a couple as chair. So I always like to embarrass him by bringing out his great public service. So there should be more of it. But that's now that I've embarrassed you, you just go through the application.
Sure. Well, what I'd like to do is build an accessory structure up behind my house. And it's going to function as a garage, a place to store my car collection. I have 3 old cars, and currently I have no place to work on them. But the structure needs to be large enough to store the cars, have some room to work on them, and also I need a place to run my business. I've been renting spaces in Ulster County for the last almost 20 years. I've been in the shirt factory building in Kingston, where I rent a space in that old factory building for about the last 13 years. And it's really time for me to get out of there and have a shop at my house and stop commuting, and the rent's always going up and all of that. So it'd be great for me to have my shop right out behind my house where I could just go out and I like working later into the evenings too, and that's not easy with a shop in Kingston. So I've designed the building to my needs, and the original design was even larger than the variants I'm requesting now. But I've pared it down and I've pared it down, so now I'm asking for a space that's roughly the size of a 2-car garage, larger than the zoning law permits. And I'm hoping you'll grant me the variance because the building is isolated. It's behind my house. It can't be seen by my neighbors or people passing by. I think, well, it's a shame it won't be seen. I think it'll be an attractive building. I'll certainly enjoy looking at it, but Yeah, that's pretty much my story. I need a little more square footage and also a little more height, because for a woodworking shop, you need to have some taller ceilings. My shop in Kingston has 14-foot ceilings. I don't expect that. I brought it down to 10 feet. But with a two-story building, I still need a little extra height than the zoning law permits.
And the Neils, is it? Are they your neighbors?
Yes.
Yes, Kate Niels is here.
All right, well, you'll have an opportunity to speak if you want. The way this works is that the applicant gets up and gives the presentation, and then whoever wants to can come on up and either ask questions or voice concerns or approval or what have you. So, all right, so I did note that I got an email saying that they approved of it, but
And I believe that another neighbor, Paul Driscoll, also sent in an email saying she has no objections.
And Richard Rizzo and Enid Ayn?
Enid Ayn.
Enid, yeah.
Right.
Also letter.
And I'm not sure if Bruce Stichter and his wife Sue sent in a letter or not, but I know they have no objections. We've talked about it.
yeah, I know that's the structure you want to erect, and I think you gave us some comparables as we were asking about comparables in height.
Yes.
That's always helpful. If we could go through and just tell us, maybe Kim, you could put them up, tell us where they are and relation to your.
Well, this is Palma Driscoll's property, which is at 565. It's 2 driveways away, but it's an old farm that actually wraps around and touches my property in the back. In fact, I acquired the land from her that I'm going to build the barn on. She allowed me to transfer a half an acre of her land over to mine so that I'd have the place to build the barn that's up behind my house and not close to the road. And I forget the exact square footage. I measured it up. It's considerably larger than what I'm requesting. I think you have the documentation for the square footage of that. And then
Guesstimate as the height,
um,
or estimate.
I think he's had
I can look at the paperwork. I think I have it, but you should have it
Yeah,
there.
this is the 565 Route 308 one, right?
Yes.
So it looks like it was 5,120 square foot. So the accessory structure that Mr. West is proposing is 1,953 square feet. And the height was 30 feet in height, and I believe this was 28 feet 2 inches, I believe.
That sounds about right, yes.
Sorry,
23.
23 inches.
Then going to the east from my house, well, first directly across the road on Rhinebeck, which I can see from my house, there's a horse barn over there that is enormous. I can go back onto the property and measure it, but I can tell from the, oh no, that's a different one. That's out to the east. Yeah, there are quite a few comparables up and down the road. And
Yeah,
also,
and then we have a picture.
Are they all on about the same amount of property? You have 4 1/3 acres or something? Are they all about that?
no, some of them are much larger parcels. If you could go back to the slide of the tax map, that first slide that you put up?
Yeah.
Yes. Just, this might be of interest to anybody who lives here locally. Carter Lane, which is,
Here. Push the button.
Carter Lane that runs like this is a little private road that we live on. Back in the 18th and 17th century, that was the main road in and out of Rhinebeck from the east. And that road actually came right down through where my neighbor's house is and connected in like that. The Stichter house, I'm told, used to be an old stagecoach stop. So the road actually passed right through my backyard, where my backyard is now. And then in the early 20th century, they had the technology to fill in the low area here and blast through the rock here to level and straighten the road. And that's what created this strange teardrop-shaped property that I now own, because that's the property that was created when they redid it. It turned out that it was a little under 4 acres. So when I acquired the land from Palma up here to build the accessory structure, it only brought it up to 4.3. If I had realized that would be an issue, I probably would have asked her for more land. But I transferred from these 2 posts to these 2 posts. It was very easy to do on paper, it made it easy for the surveyor, and I didn't think having a little under 5 acres was going to be an issue. But all the other parcels along Harbor Lane are smaller than what I have. Bruce's is smaller than I have. So, you know, it's just the way it worked out.
So maybe you could take us through some of the comparables. I know you gave us some of them you could just describe.
Yes.
That's helpful for the record.
Okay. Well, this is Paul. Excuse me, this is Paul and Driscoll's barn, and that's the one we just described. It's over 30 feet tall, and I'm getting the numbers, but 5,000 square feet between the 2 barns. There's a dairy farm down at the corner of Cedar Heights and Route 308. They have so many barns, it's, you know, there's just no way I could have gotten onto the property and measured them all, but they have literally thousands and thousands of square feet, and with the silos, you know, it's much, much taller than what I'm requesting. I included the theater, the Performing Arts Center, because it is a barn-like structure. Actually, back in the day when that building was being designed, they asked me to be on the design committee, not so much for the aesthetics, but because of my theater background, they asked me to make sure the building would function properly. So I'm well aware that they designed it specifically to look like a barn so that it would fit in with the character of the neighborhood. And that was certainly in the front of my mind when I designed my structure as well. This is Tannery Place, one of the structures there. There are several accessory structures on this property. And again, I didn't want to go onto the property and measure square footage, but it's clearly
You can see it.
much, much larger than what I'm requesting. And this, of course, is the same from a different angle.
So you never provided this.
Yes. There's another structure right on 308, less than a mile from my house, that was a barn. It still looks like a barn, but within the last couple of years, they converted it into a dwelling. I think that's at 416. I didn't include that because it's not an accessory structure any longer, but you can see it from the road, and it's a very large barn structure.
No offense to your comps and neighbors, but I like your design better.
Well, thank you. I think that's all the counts that I gave you, right?
Yeah.
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 All right. Is anybody here for this application who would like to come up and speak? You don't have to, but if you'd like to.
If you don't mind.
Come on up. Sure. So what we ask you to do is to state your name, your address, and try to get close to the microphone, and you are on camera.
Okay.
So just tell us what you think.
My name is Kate, or Catherine Niels, and my mother Christina Niels and myself are on the deed for the house at 7 Harbor Lane, and we live in Rhinebeck, obviously. Did I get everything?
Yeah.
So we are longtime adjacent property owners, and friends and neighbors. Very long time. And my mom could not be here. I'm her power of attorney, and I'm her daughter, obviously. And I support my neighbor. It's not a problem for us. He's directly adjacent to me. I can see them when they come and go. I can wave to them. And none of the work has damaged, bothered, or annoyed us at all. And if my mother were here, I know her well, she would be in full support as well, so thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here for this application?
There is I was going to say, there is a tree line that separates Kate's house from where this structure is going to be. And her garage is on that side, so she has no windows looking out where she can see it at all. So if I had chosen to build it on the land that I already owned, that piece of property between Harder Lane and 308, my neighbors would clearly see it. They'd be looking out their front windows at it, which is why I acquired the land up behind, so that it's really not going to be a bother to anybody.
And is it staked out? I mean, there's an existing...
It isn't yet, but I have the stakes, and I'll have it ready for you when you're ready to do your inspection.
That'll probably be the next, not this weekend, but the weekend after. That's convenient for you.
Sure, I can be there whenever it's ready.
Questions, concerns?
Any questions? We should set the time and the date for the site visit.
We'll make it a week from Saturday.
Sure.
11-ish, something like that.
So it's set the 20th.
Does that
So
work for
this
you?
Saturday is the 20th, next weekend is the 27th.
27th work for you, or how about the rest of the gang?
I may need a decision on the Saturday. Would you do the following week?
I will make myself available whenever it's convenient for the board.
Is that August 3rd?
August 3rd would be the following, no, it would, yeah, August 3rd is following.
Okay. It sounds like we have a consensus for August 3rd. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, and we'll probably all come out for both of us. And 11-ish, is that all right? Or?
Yes. And in the meantime, let me know if there's any other information you need. But,
No, I think we have what we need.
I know Catherine, at the last meeting, you had asked if Michael could write on the format, like where the wood shop would be, kind of like label the floors.
Oh, I submitted that. Yes, the two rooms in the structure that I'm going to use for my woodworking shop and guitar repair shop total 683 square feet, or about 35% of the total structure. The rest of it will be personal use with the cars.
And you submitted that?
I did.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Great.
I don't have any other questions.
Questions, concerns?
And I've spoken with the planning board on a Zoom call. I'm assuming this will get referred to them, and I'll be on their agenda for the special permit I might need for the home occupation.
Yeah, so an application, the area variance application was referred to the planning board. I believe they discussed it at this past Monday's meeting. This was just a referral response to the area variance application. And they said that they had no issues for the area variance. And then I believe you likely had a pre-conference?
I did, yes.
Yeah, so you'll be going for a special use permit for the Class 2 home occupation for having the wood shop. So it's, they're going to be two separate applications, kind of like in parallel.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much.
So at this point in time, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. And Michael, you know that means we have 62 days to render a decision, but we'll do it by the next meeting. That's what we traditionally do. And in the meantime, we'll come and visit you on the 3rd.
Fantastic.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, as I mentioned, we just discussed, it's a class 2 home occupation, because he's going to be doing some of the business in an accessory structure. He is going forward with the planning board for a special use permit. So initially, the area variance we requested was for the height, given the silo, and also just the square footage of the accessory structure generally. For class 2 home occupations, there are a few additional requirements. One is that the home occupation shall occupy no more than 25% of the total floor area. And so as Michael just said, the measured
33%.
yeah, 680, I think, is what he said, or 630, I haven't written down. 683. So the 25% of the square footage is 430 square feet, so we would need an area variance for that additional amount. And additionally, in this supplemental regulations for class 2, it says that the class 2 home occupation has to meet the minimum lot area. As Michael was just explaining, the 5-acre lot, he has 4.33, so I think he should also get an area variance for that 0.67.
Okay, so we'll add those.
So we'll just add those to be part of your consideration. We don't need to renotice the public hearing because the design itself hasn't changed, it's just some additional variances based on the interior. To begin working on the resolutions, do you guys have any initial thoughts? I know you guys will be doing a site visit, but can you provide some initial thoughts, what you're considering?
Especially given the area. And that's why I like the comp so much, because you can see what else is out there. And this is certainly going to be fitting, and it's also nice to have the next door neighbor who doesn't have a quarrel with it, and it's going to be the most affected by it. But the design is interesting, and it certainly serves the use that he needs. Property is pretty good size. I mean, I know it's undersized, but it's pretty close to 5 acre. And with all the other structures in the area being bigger, higher, I think it's going to fit in fine. And I guess we'll see from the site visit, but I suspect it's going to be shielded from view to the other neighbors and about the topography and everything else. So my initial vote is in favor of currently the application, but that's subject to the site
Yep.
visit. Others?
I agree with you totally. I mean, it seems as if it's going to be hidden. It seems as if the design is still slightly unusual, but it all fits in with the sidewalk and the cedar shape on some of it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, it looks like he's doing all the right things.
Anybody else? You concur?
I second,
That's it?
I second your comment.
My gosh.
No, I think it really fits in with the area, that it's great design and speaks to the vernacular architecture around. And I know those barns along that road, they're much bigger than this structure. So I would be in favor of it. And as you said, the site visit.
I think you have your direction.
Yep, thank you.
All right. So, the next matter on is brook meat. And first, before you get going with your spiel, let me give my spiel. And this is a spiel I give when we have, by the way, thank you everybody for coming out. Usually we're very lonely. And no, it's great. This is what it's all about, getting people's input. We live for this. This is why we have a public hearing. We want to hear what you guys have to say. So I thank everybody for being in attendance. And I know that people have probably strong opinions about the situation, okay? And I just want to make clear that the way we run our meetings here is that everybody deserves respect, okay? The public officials, any individuals, anybody. Even Sean deserves respect.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. Obviously, but no, seriously, these things can get out of hand. I know it won't tonight, but I just want to make sure that everybody shows everybody respect. A judge told me one time that the louder a person speaks and the nastier a person speaks, the less he hears them. And I'm just like that. If I hear a raised voice, I shut out. And so keep it respectful. I'm sure you will. But I just have to do this because I've been doing this for a long time, and sometimes it's not the case. And seriously, I really do. If I hear somebody ad hominem attacks, if you're attacking somebody, calling them names or doing like that, I won't even listen to you. I'm telling you right now, I won't listen to you. Everybody, I'm sure, has valid issues here to address, and I want to make sure that's done. This is a very narrow issue, by the way. I hope everybody knows that. Everybody loves Brookmead. We like Brookmead, Brookmead's great and everything else. Nobody is contesting that. The issue here is what is the accessory uses? What are the accessory uses that we had here? Okay, that's the issue. It's not whether we like Brookmead. I think that's universal, and whether Brookmead is a wonderful place and does great good and all that kind of stuff. We know that. It's whether the accessory use that is at issue is allowed. And what are the accessory uses that are allowed? Because not everything is allowed there. Certain things are and certain things aren't. And that's really why we're here. So I just want to make sure you're keeping it narrow. That's the issue. And maybe Kim, you can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. So thanks, Scott. And that's pretty much what I just wanted to say. I just wanted to just, we have received some public comments already. They have been accepted all into the record. And just as a little background, so in 2017, Brookmead had received approval from the planning board for an adult day camp, and it was stated in the application for Brookmead accessory uses. So there was a building about 18,000 square foot. That's the pavilion. If I'm good, right?
That's correct.
Yep, it's pavilion. And so that's where it was going to be hosting an adult day camp, and then along with community activities that were currently being operated at the time in 2017. There were 3 elements that were proposed. One was the adult day camp, which was going to be open to the residents living on the site, and then residents from the local community coming in. Then there was some accessory uses like fitness, hairdresser, clinic, cafes to be provided services to the residences. And then there were other community functions such as meetings, seminars, gatherings, public activities held in existing buildings. And some of the activities that were listed, this is all from the application from 2017, were Rhinebeck at Home, Leading Age, Office of the Aging, Rotary Club, Chambers, flu clinics, early voting. So those were all approved in 2017. Again, it's adult day camp and again, Brookmead accessory uses. So in April of this year, notice of apparent violation was issued to Brookmead for hosting the Chamber of Commerce event known as the Good Egg. And Brookmead has appealed that notice of apparent violation, and that's why they're now in front of the ZBA. So what the ZBA is going to be reviewing is kind of a twofold question. One is to review the notice of violation that was issued and determine if that event was allowed to be held there based on what was given approval in 2017. So what the ZBA will be doing in that case is issuing what's called a de novo review of it. What de novo means, it's a Latin term in law, which means it's new, it's a fresh look. They're going to be basically stepping into the shoes of the CEO and determining if that notice of violation should have been issued. They don't have to afford deference to the CEO. They're the fact finders for this, which is why it's important when you provide comments, you provide it to the ZBA so that they can consider everything. And what they can do is they can uphold the determination, they can overturn it, or they can modify it. In addition to that, the applicant has also asked the ZBA for an interpretation to better understand what Brookmead accessory uses are, as Scott was explaining, understanding what was approved, not necessarily what's best to be used for, not necessarily what it could be used for, or if the events are good or bad. That's not what we're looking at. We're just looking at what was approved in 2017 and be able to clarify that. And I think that pretty much
That's
sums
it.
it up.
That was excellent, Kim. I really appreciate that, and Scott as well. Members of the board, I appreciate you taking the time to entertain this appeal. My name is Sean Kemp. I represent the community at Brookmead in connection with the appeal from the notice of apparent violation that Kim just referenced. The one thing I think that I would add to what Kim said was that at the time that the special permit and the accessory uses site plan was granted in July of 2017, these accessory uses were granted without any type of condition or qualification or anything of that nature. And that's why this appeal is so important, because it really comes down to Brookmead being not only a resource for the residents that live on its campus, but also the residents that live in the surrounding area, which is, of course, members of Rhinebeck, Hyde Park, Northern Dutchess County, and even Ulster County, the Hudson Valley, generally speaking. So it's very important that we listen tonight to the comments from the public regarding the historical uses of the campus at Brookmead, as well as some of the more recent uses of the pavilion at Brookmead. And I think that it will shed light on just how valuable of a resource the pavilion is, not only to Brookmead, but to the community at large. And also how important it is for our community, not only in the sense of it being a resource, but in the sense of promoting community. Having a place where children get together and play soccer, where older folks get together, have meetings, older folks get together and they have sandwiches and soup with each other, you know, once a month so that they can interact with other people. The value is very, very difficult to measure, to be quite honest with you. And the tone that was taken by the CEO in the notice of apparent violation was cause for concern for me in particular, because the Good Egg Award, which they claim, or he claims, is a violation of the town code and the permissions that the community of Brookmead was previously granted, actually symbolizes everything that makes Rhinebeck a great place. So to say that the community of Brookmead couldn't host that event, which was for the Rhinebeck Area Chamber of Commerce, which is obviously a civic organization, that was honoring a good egg, meaning an individual that goes above and beyond to serve the community. It's kind of, it's a little shocking for me to see that when we have such a rich community, we pride ourselves on our community, the inclusivity of our community, and yet we are, I don't know if it's threatening to restrict or actually restricting the use of a very valuable asset. So tonight, I have with me Karen Zobel. She's the director of the community at Brookmead, and she's going to lead off with some of the public comments with your permission. And before that, if you have any questions.
I would just say that I don't think there was anything malicious here by the CEO. I think he was, you know, is this really an accessory kind of use for an adult daycare? I'm with you on the Rhinebeck Chamber Good Egg Award. You know, I was president of the Rhinebeck Chamber of Commerce for 2
Correct.
years, and I hosted it at Beacon Arms, where it used to be. So I'm all for it. I think it's a wonderful thing, and I think it's great. I think it ought to be done more often. That's why I embarrassed Michael, because, you know, there's a lot of people who give a lot of time that nobody knows about, ever. Or Michael Trimble over here,
Correct.
who's 40 years or something, and Melanie Moore. And, you know, there's a lot of folks here who give a lot of time. So I love that award, but that's not the issue. It's whether that's a kind of event that is an accessory use to an adult daycare. And it may be, or it may not be, but that's what we're diving into, is what do they need in 2017?
So the one thing that I would take issue with there is that it's not the accessory use to an adult daycare. It was Brookmead accessory uses, and it's an accessory use to a senior living facility, living facility that has not only, you know, assisted living, nursing home type scenario, but also independent living. We have over 200 residents that live there, 250 employees that work there. So this is an actual community. So it's things that are incidental to the use of the property as a senior living facility, not limited to an adult daycare.
And if you go even that far, I think there's still an issue. I mean, it's a little bit of a gray area.
Well, that's why we're here.
And that's why we're here.
Correct.
Exactly. And nobody's acting in bad faith,
No.
either the town or anybody else. It's just, we want to get some kind of clarity. That's really what we want.
And that was the real impetus, because we had gone back and forth, and as I mentioned, we had a very nice, robust discussion the last time that we were here. And myself and Brian Zaden from the community of Brookmead, we met with Michael Trimble in the past, and we understood that it wasn't very clear what Brookmead accessory uses meant. And this, I think, opened up the door for us to have that discussion. And it's a discussion that needs to be had, because Brookmead deserves to know what they can and can't do. And there's been a little bit of, walking on eggshells and stuff like that. And I think that, this provides an opportunity for us all to get on the same page and strengthen our community moving forward. So I appreciate the time. And Karen, if you'd like to come up and say a few words.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Nice to meet you all. I want to thank the zoning board for your time tonight and hope for a resolution and clarification on the intended and allowable uses of the pavilion. I am Karen Zobel, the CEO of Brookmead. Our mission has always been to serve our community, to serve our seniors, and to enhance the quality of life for residents of Brookmead and the community at large. Brookmead is a non-for-profit 501c3. All of the Brookmead entities are non-for-profit 501c3. We are rated in the top 2% nationally by the federal government. We are a 5-star rated facility, and we are in the first quintile of all nursing homes in New York State. We are proud to be designated as a leader in senior services because we want to provide the best for those that deserve the most, all right here in Rhinebeck, New York. Brookmead is like a hidden gem, and you can easily pass it as you drive on 308. So to give you a sense of the size and impact of our community, I would like to share the following with you. We sit on 75 acres. We process 19,000 gallons of wastewater through our treatment plant every year. We're one of the largest employers in northern Dutchess County. We employ over 240 individuals from across Dutchess, Ulster, and Columbia counties. We host vocational programs for Anderson Center, Ramapo, and Dutchess ARC, and have an active volunteer program. In 2022, 259 people needing care have been admitted to our skilled nursing facility, and 256 individuals have been discharged. That's 550 people, which is a huge number of seniors requiring senior care and rehabilitation in just 1 year. The campus itself is home to over 200 residents, and we serve almost 800 meals a day. We have opened our sports fields for generations at no cost to our town or to those that want to use it. This and much more, all hidden right off of 308. In 2024, an estimated 6.9 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's. That's about 1 in 9 people. 30% of the population of Rhinebeck is 65 and older. As we watch nursing homes close like our friends at the Thompson House, we remain vibrant and are one of the few successful standalone non-for-profit communities left in the state. Historically, Brookmead has always been a place, a resource for the community at large. The vision for the pavilion came from your needs. It was driven by the community. It came from our drive to do more and to do better for you. Excuse me. The Brookmead campus has always welcomed all. Events, celebrations, educational seminars, use of the sports fields, trainings, musicals, rehearsals, you are welcome. Voting, fundraisers, blood drives, memorials, anniversaries, milestone celebrations, you are welcome. Hosting chamber functions for Rhinebeck and Dutchess County, answering the call to vaccinate over 700 people during a worldwide crisis, you are welcome. Collaborating with agencies like the Anderson Center, Ramapo for Children, Rhinebeck at Home, you are welcome. Space for school districts to meet, space for their graduations and ceremonies, an accessible space for the Repair Cafe volunteers. Remembering our veterans and honoring those that served, they were welcome. We launched our SAS program about 1 year ago. This is a complimentary soup and sandwich social for seniors. We hold it once a month to encourage nutrition, socialization, and community. This program helps tackle senior loneliness and supports healthy nutrition, all high-risk areas for seniors. Each month, we see new faces and new friendships develop. We have served over 1,000 meals since starting, all thanks to the funds raised by our Brookmead Foundation. Our community, our families will always be welcome, and that is what we do. This is what we have always done. Honor and respect, care and serve the most vulnerable, and provide the same real-life joys and services that you and I would expect. We specialize in senior care community services, not catering. We are not a Villa Borghese or a Grandview, but instead a community center like a firehouse, a Lions Club, or VFW. The pavilion has afforded many the ability to celebrate life events together where they may not have been able to attend before. I want to thank all of those that have sent a letter to you, and I want to thank everyone that's here tonight. And I especially want to thank our resident council president who's here, Ms. Rosemary Baldwin. And if allowed, I would like to ask if I don't know what the process is, forgive me.
It's-
But say again.
Whoever wants to come on up and give their opinion of the issue, if you could keep it to the issue, it's great. Everybody's going to get a chance to talk, whoever
Sure.
wants to talk.
Thank you.
We just,
We'll move it along.
well, no, listen, we're here and we have time, so I want everybody to have their opportunity to speak, but, we don't want repeating things all over again, but we do want people to speak their minds and come on up.
And just another, if you do have any written statements, you can always submit those as well, either before or after the meeting.
Sorry, Ms. Wilkerson.
Oh, I was just saying, if anyone has any, if you have written comments, you can feel free to submit those for the record as well, in addition to anything you'd like to say.
Go ahead. My name is Craig Olszewski, and I live at 10 Seymour Drive here in Rhinebeck Village. And I feel that this is a very important resource for a town that lacks a community center. The pavilion, the fact that it's already built, I think is a great resource for the town to take advantage of. My kids have played soccer and t-ball and at the Brookmead facility, and it is very much a part of the Rhinebeck community. And I believe that the use that's in question is consistent with the overall intent of the RC5 zoning, which I really appreciated. The zoning is what shapes our community, it's what protects our community. And a big part of the intent of the RC5 is that development be clustered and uses be clustered. And I think this is a very good example of a clustered use. So again, I support Brookmead, and I hope you will see it favorably. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. Sorry about the mob.
No, we like mob. Just calm.
What is it?
Not a lynch.
Not a lynch mob yet.
I'm Karen Stewart. I've been a resident and a homeowner, I was in Rhinebeck for 38 years, and then I retired to Red Hook, to the golf club, to another condensed area where some wise building decisions were made to make a cluster of townhouses. Anyway, I've served 10 years on the Community Foundation Board for Brookmead, which is the fundraising board, which I'd like to address in a minute, what we do. And I'm the newest member of the Brookmead Governing Board. Was invited recently to join, thank you. My mother's been a resident at Brookmead for over 10 years. I moved her up here from North Carolina. She has fallen several times, so although she lives in the independent living building, she has had her stays at the Meadows, which is very convenient. You get her out of the hospital, you move her through rehab, and then back into the independent living facility. She was able to attend my son's wedding during COVID because Brookmead purchased, the foundation purchased iPads, and we took a technically savvy young lady that worked there and brought her to my mother's room, and my mother was able to go to the wedding via a streaming service. And the other thing is she was kept totally safe from COVID, which was excellent. I just want to thank Karen Zobel for her forward thinking. She and I were brainstorming years ago when I was caregiving for my husband for 11 years, but I could afford extra help. But my next door neighbor on Slate Quarry Road could not. And it was a very difficult situation for her family. And I kept saying, and Karen kept saying, we need some place where some way a caregiver can get some respite. And that becomes a place to take for a medically supervised adult day setup for the person that you're taking care of. And it was a great vision, but that vision grew to include much more than that we could provide the community. We've got 4.1 million caregivers in New York State. That's on their website. Everything I tell you here has been noted. You can go back and look it up. So it's a huge growing need. And as the foundation worked to begin to work on this, we wanted to implement the new adult daycare model, which allows the elderly to stay at home as long as they can. We wanted to offer daytime respite for caregivers so they can continue to have their jobs, or they can do errands or whatever they have to do. They can even have a recreation day. And we wanted to create a well-needed event program space to expand the program spaces that were limited that we had on campus. Because everything we're doing now practically, we were doing then in much smaller rooms in the different buildings. The background here to the charge, we're charged with an apparent violation for holding a commercial event. Just for a little background, you know, on the day in question, we hosted the Rhinebeck Chamber of Commerce Good Egg Celebration. You know what that is. The Chamber traditionally holds this event in the Beekman Arms, but they had to decline this year because the expected head count was 130 to 150. So they said no. We went, therefore, and the Chamber approached us. So instead, the Brookmead Pavilion became the place to hold a larger group function. The Chamber only paid Brookmead a rental fee to cover expenses. We had utility expenses, staffing expenses to set up and clean the rooms. They had the use of our audiovisual equipment, our tables, our linens, and our kitchen. The Chamber hired and brought in 2 local restaurant catering groups that used our kitchen facilities. They also hired local musicians, and they brought in dishes and silverware, etc., from a local rental business. All of those people got the commercial end of this deal. So for me, it would be very difficult to conclude that this was a commercial event done on our facility. Now for the more general topic, just some statistics. The town of Rhinebeck, with a population of 7,717 in the last census, 6,743 are adults and 2,515 are seniors. That's 37% of the adult population of the town of Rhinebeck. But furthermore, if you drop down to 55 years old, there are 3,730, or 55% of our residents are 55 years or over in age. It's imperative that we as a community apply ourselves in time, in talent, and in resources to care for this aging population. I don't think anyone could argue that when the elderly interact in community activities and events, the whole community doesn't become healthier. So the question becomes, in sharing the pavilion facility, is not Brookmead then acting in a very civic role for our community? I just want to tell you a couple things about the foundation. Many of these activities that you're going to see listed in the booklet are run by the Brookmead Foundation as fundraisers. So why do we fundraise? Because senior care by Medicare and Medicaid only covers solid, good medical care and some of the nutrition needs, but does not cover social interaction combined with mental stimulation. Medicare and Medicaid do not cover any part of that. So we thrive at Brookmead through the foundation in supplying those missing pieces with all the activities we run out there and the events that we hold to both benefit the elderly and the staff. We fund extra technology, supplemental supplies, snacks, extra clothing. We also assist with funding to further professional education and degrees for our staff. That facility would not be what it is without those events. The National Consumer Voice for Quality Long-Term Care in tips for building community involvement in long-term facilities specifically lists activities to provide access to and participation in community life for seniors. And those include educational programs, guest speaker series, art and craft fairs, connection programs with local politicians, on-site local award ceremonies. Others here tonight will speak on some of the numerous beneficial programs that have happened. But I would just like to summarize my comments with this. We are not asking you to extend or expand the intensity of use. We are not asking you to establish a unique novel use. We are not asking you to expand a non-conforming use or change the use of the property. There's the punchline. We are merely asking you to allow an interpretation of the zoning law that allows us to serve a beneficial public purpose for the community of Brookmead and the surrounding local community at large through normal, customary, and incidental uses in the pavilion building.
Good evening. My name is Phil Seymour. I grew up in the Rhinebeck area. A little building in the area. I used to attend Boy Scout meetings in this very room 70 years ago. 2 years ago, I was a patient in the Baptist home in the Meadows. And then my wife was too, of course, August of last year when she passed. Then I went to assisted living. Before that, having lived in the area over 40 or 84 years, I had no idea of what the Brookmead community consisted of. When you're a patient, and then after that, I was a volunteer, you learn the compassion and all the mercy. It's an amazing organization. Just as a footnote to the issue about the A-bid, who better than Karen Burnett to have her honor dinner in that meeting room, which has, she's one of the 2 people, Brian Murphy and Karen Burnett, that room is dedicated to. If people didn't know it. Just, I don't think a lot of people in the community have any idea of what the Baptist home, the Brookmead community was all about. Now, I didn't. I've been here 84 years. The Baptist home started in Brooklyn in 1869. And then they outgrew the area, deteriorated, and they leave to find a new home. And that's when they started up in Rhinebeck, they bought the property. And then in 1977, the Meadows, the nursing part, opened up. That same year, and in 2008, they did a monster building. And they built the assisted living portion. And the Arbor Ridge, where all the people can come in and have an apartment, very much like their own house, bring their own furniture in. Then, 2017, they built the pavilion, which includes a restaurant center for breakfast and lunch, a Rhinebeck community care facility with playground, which offers the opportunity for kids to have a little steam without bothering any neighbors. It's a down in the meeting room area is dedicated to Michael Green, who joined the Brookfield board. Brian Murphy, assistant CEO, and Carol Burnett on the board. Curtin administrator, Karen Zale, has helped the reputation of Brookmead from being so-so back when we had a Thompson House in Greenville, St. Paul, to one of the top nursing homes in the country. I talked to having being a volunteer at the Meadows, I've seen a lot of people that I know from the community who love ones that are there who have been in the Meadows. And they were amazed the difference between what it was like before Karen got here 13 years ago and what it is now. That's why the reputation is so good. As a community, we're truly blessed by the presence of Brookmead, only they do nursing homes, but Brookmead specifically because of the nature of the campus. I mean, we got assisted living, we got nursing home, we got Arbor Ridge, we've got it all. And what's nice too is we've got the hospital right there. And my wife had to go to there. So we don't, a lot of people don't realize how fortunate we are because a lot of these places, nursing homes are out in the boondocks, way away from their families. But for our local community, Brookmead's got it all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Everybody gets an opportunity to speak, so if you could,
Be as brief as possible.
you took the words right out of my mouth. How about 3 minutes or something like that?
No, my name is Tony Chisholm. I work in the managed finance department at the community business. My experience here that I want to relay is very different from a lot of the experiences out here. But I recently, last March, became a U.S. citizen after living most of my life here. My ceremony was a disaster. I got to the courthouse, was the third person in line, got in, waiting for everybody to come in, and they came up to me and said, "You cannot be naturalized today because we did not prepare a certificate for you." I had to go up to Albany in a ceremony with one official and my wife beside me, and that was a tremendous letdown. First of all, there was the humiliation of having to leave the courthouse, drive up to Albany, and not experience that moment that everybody who gets naturalized experiences. Karen and the community learned about this and prepared a special ceremony, had a judge come in and officiate at the pavilion with all of my friends, all of my community around me to create this event and make this a memorable experience for me and to share it with my community. This is the kind of spirit that we bring to Rhinebeck, to this area. And I just want to say that we need to open our eyes to what this facility really means to everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Arnold Johnson. I reside in Rhinebeck. I've lived here since 2012, down in the gardens. But my association with Rhinebeck was back to the early 70s when I was a trooper in Rhinebeck and Clark, I've been patrolling down this way. So I know quite a bit about the Rhinebeck area. I know about the Rhinebeck, the Brookmead, the Baptist home at the time when they came up. Even when it was under construction, we'd have to patrol down through there, make sure somebody wasn't stealing whatever back there. So my association goes back that far. As time went by, my daughter lives out there in Clinton Corners. My 3 girls went through the soccer operations out there in Brookmead. And it's been a wonderful thing. What a wonderful community neighbor Brookmead is. Now in 17, I testified on behalf of the building of the pavilion. Now, I know at that time there, we talked about the pavilion, we talked about the banquet hall, and the thing that there was nothing that would go in that was comparable to that around, and how it could be used in the community, comparable to the way the soccer fields and the ball fields are for the kids. And it's very surprising that someplace, and then it was approved, even after talking about it, it would be good for the community, etc., to use. That was okay, that was okay. And then with the okay on it, you would think, well, that's the assumption that you take. It's been okay, but unfortunately, there's a different interpretation of what was initially approved for, you would think that if they said approved, but you can't go and say do it for this, or you can't go and we're not going to go and let you use it for any outside. But we have Rhinebeck at Home there. Rhinebeck at Home brings in entertainment. The people from the nursing home come down there, right, and see some of the entertainment. But my whole purpose on testifying initially was my wife had Alzheimer's. I was caring for her at home. And I knew the day was going to come that I needed help. And the help that I was looking for was the daycare center and the pavilion at that time. Well, unfortunately, she progressed too fast, and COVID went and slowed that down too much. So consequently, that never happened. But my wife ended up going into the nursing home. And she was there for 4 years. And the service that she got, and the fact that outside organizations could go and use the banquet hall, and we could go and say, push it over, and whether it be stuff that Rhinebeck at Home had, or whether it be other things that we had gone to, and it's just, it seems to me that goes and handles the auxiliary definition that they talk about. The community. I know that the fire department has used it. And then, there's voting over there. I mean, it seems like somebody somewhere believes that it should be used there by the community if they have a voting station there, and all the other things that occur. And I just sincerely ask you, I had an eye operation yesterday, and I was up in the VA until this morning, and then I had to get back here to go and say testify tonight. But please give this favorable consideration, because it's nothing more than what everybody thought was approved in 17. And I thank you very much.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm here to highlight the importance of the pavilion at Brookmead tonight.
Your name, please?
My name is Marielle Suna. I'm an employee of Brookmead.
Thank you.
I believe the pavilion is more than just a building. It's a lifeline for our residents. It provides a safe and welcoming space where residents can engage in social activities, maintain their mental health, and enjoy meals. There are several reasons why preserving the pavilion is vital. First, social interaction is important because isolation and loneliness are significant issues among the elderly. The pavilion offers a space where residents can eat a meal, socialize with one another and their family members. Our residents are able to vote They're able to attend craft fairs during the holidays and buy gifts for themselves and family members. And it allows them to feel connected to real-world activities. The Soup and Sandwich Social, held every month, is a great opportunity for the residents to foster a great sense of belonging within their community as well. Secondly, mental health and stimulation are vital as well. The pavilion fosters intergenerational connections, bringing together people of all ages and strengthening the community. It is a place where wisdom and experience can be shared, enriching the lives of everyone involved, hindering cognitive decline. And lastly, I'm not only here today speaking as an employee, but from the perspective of a family member. The photo of the resident on my t-shirt is my grandmother. She began declining this past December. Her leg muscles have atrophied and she can no longer walk. Before this happened, I was able to transfer her to my car, take her to the nail salon, restaurants, home for the day, just to visit family. Now, since she cannot safely get into a car, we rely heavily on the pavilion for her social interaction, going out to eat, spending quality time outside of the nursing home. We have also held her birthday celebration there for the past 2 years, which is a great opportunity for her to feel special and connected with her children and grandchildren. I'm recently engaged, and it is important to me, my family, and my fiance that my grandmother attends upcoming family events and gatherings, as she is the glue holding this family together. I have been quoted hundreds of dollars by ambulance services to pick her up and drop her off to family events, which are only 15 minutes away from the nursing home. That's unrealistic to do on a weekly or even a monthly basis. We have planned on hosting some of our events at the pavilion so she can safely attend without a huge financial burden as well. Closing the pavilion would be devastating to all of our residents who have given so much of their lives to this community. So let's come together to ensure that they continue to have a space where they feel valued, supported, and connected. Thank you.
Good evening.
My name is Connor Kemp. I live at 132 Millwood Road in Rhinebeck, New York. And all my life I've lived in this town. And along with my life, I've used Brookmead's amenities, such as their soccer field, all my life too, to carry out a passion of mine that I still hold to this day. And I see that there's no reason to not add another resource that benefits and welcomes the people of Rhinebeck to Brookmead. And because Rhinebeck is a community based on neighbors working and getting together, and Brookmead, with the addition of the pavilion, will not only benefit our community. And with that said, I fully support Brookmead's use of the pavilion. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Carol Bruno. My family and I have lived in Rhinebeck since 1987. And my relationship with the community of Brookmead spans over 2 decades. Initially providing end-of-life care for my mother and my mother-in-law, I personally witnessed their compassion for our seniors and wanted to give back to the organization. I joined the Brookmead Foundation Board back in 2012, and shortly thereafter was appointed as the president and chair of their board. Brookmead not only serves, like everyone has said, their own residents, but also the greater community by providing informative programming and activities. Under my tenure as the recent past executive director of the Rhinebeck Chamber of Commerce, Brookmead partnered with the Chamber and hosted events opening up everything to the entire community. We had programming that included Dutchess County Executive Sue Serino. She came and she spoke to a group of people just about what her plans were as Dutchess County Executive. As Senator Sue Serino, we had hosted breakfasts where she would come, and again, she was a very big advocate of aging population set on committees, and talked about all of that to people come to these chamber meetings that we had. Dutchess Community College president, a speaker one morning, Peter Brent Jordan, and he spoke about the collegiate opportunities available for all of our community. He specifically that day spoke about their nursing program and of course the huge need for nurses throughout everywhere. We had a community job fair up there with Brookmead, and the Rhinebeck Village Autism Supportive Community Committee also sponsored that. And it was open up to every single person. Didn't matter, you know, it could be a special needs person. It could have been for any type of business. We had probably 10 companies come in, interview people did get hired. And at one time, a lot of the local restaurants, if you remember, had help wanted signs up in their windows and were desperate for help. And so we were able to help kind of fill that need of the community at that particular time. They also offered tours of the facility after all of these chamber events, you know, for those who would like to stay. They would open their doors and again, let the community come in and see who they are, which was great. We, besides those types of events, Brookmead also holds ceremonies. And I think somebody just talked about the citizenship ceremony that we did. Brad Kendall was there. We had a judge there. I don't know, the place was packed and it was just wonderful. People from Brookmead, people outside of the community. And it was a great event. Memorial services are also provided by request. All that has to be done is people have to ask. And so in summary, the community of Brookmead is a nonprofit organization serving our greater community, casting their huge net of passion over it all. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Michael Green. I've lived in Hyde Park all my life. Graduated Roosevelt High School in 1971. So I'm giving my age away. But I've been a volunteer, and actually I want to speak to you board members because I know you volunteer. I've served as a volunteer on the board of Brookmead since 1999, for 25 years. I currently am serving as the board president. When I first started as a board member, back in '99, if you remember, there was only one building on our property, one major building. That was the Baptist home, the nursing home, a 120-bed nursing home. We now have Arbor Ridge, which is a 56-unit independent living. We have the Terraces, a 26-unit assisted living, and the Pavilion, now an 18,000 square foot building with a daycare and a state-of-the-art conference center and professional kitchen. I want you to know, as you are, our board members are all local people that live in the area here. They're residents who volunteer. We just had Carolyn up here, who is a board member, volunteer. They all volunteer their time and their resources to the community of Brookmead. And I just wanted to tell you, as board members, we sit down and we decide to do a project in our community of Brookmead. Yeah, we look at the finances and is it possible, but we always ask two big questions before we start a project and as we go into a project. The first question is, how will this benefit the residents living in the community of Brookmead? We always try to find ways to enrich their lives so that they can spend the rest of their lives in dignity and fulfillment. We want to give them a purpose to live and just enjoyment for the rest of their life, the best we can. We know that these are people that, suffer disabilities. They can't do the average, what we can do, the activities of daily life like we can do, getting out of bed and all those other things. They need help with it and assistance. But the second thing we always think about, and we've always talked about, and it's always part of our board meetings when we're talking about doing anything in our community of Brookmead, is how can the services we provide make living in Rhinebeck a better place? I live in this community along with the other board members, and that's important to us. We're always striving to be one big community where the elderly living in the nursing home or the assisted living can interact with the residents of Rhinebeck, and that enriches everybody's life. That's always been our purpose. And this is one of the reasons why we maintain the ball fields there. I can remember when we were doing the projects for Arbor Ridge, one of the big meetings at the town board was, well, what are you going to do with the ball fields? Are you going to take them away from us? And we said, no, we would never do that. We want to expand them. We want to make them better. We actually provided funding so that we could put more resources and more money into the ball fields because the kids loved it. Our seniors love being out there with the kids on the ball field. The ones that can get out, you see them out there in wheelchairs and walkers and watching the kids so happy. You know, this gives them real life experiences that they need. When we set up the pavilion, we didn't set up the pavilion just for a 120-bed nursing home. When we put in a 4,000 square foot conference center, it was so that we could interact with the community here in Rhinebeck, and so that our seniors could interact with them, and their quality of life would be raised, and the quality of life of people living in Rhinebeck. You know how many volunteers, people come in, I didn't know this was here. Can I help? And you know, people get involved. That's one of the artists here. There's a lot of people here that just came in and started volunteering when they found out what it was all about. And so, as a board member, I know that you guys are here wanting to do what's best for Rhinebeck. And please believe, we've always, as our board, has always strived not only to look at what's best for the community of Brookmead, because that's our responsibility, but also how we can enrich the lives of people in Rhinebeck. And that's why we built that conference center. So I just wanted to let you know where our heart was. And I know your heart's in the same place, so I hope we can get together. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Thomas Marshall. I live on 171 Decker Road in Stanfordville. I'm also a volunteer fireman and past U.S. veteran. And with the community of Brookmead, I've been volunteering since I was 6 years old. Right now I'm 23, so 17 years, almost 18 now. And I have never seen a community come together so much before in such a vast quantity throughout all of Dutchess County. Coming from the pavilion and seeing all the our community coming together between not only just the elderly, but the kids. The kids love to come down like we just had recently. If you look on their Facebook, they had a social where kids came to interact with the seniors, see if their life experiences and everything of the sorts. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. It's my first time doing something like that.
You're among friends.
But they don't only cater to the elderly community and just the kids. They also cater a lot to the veteran community. As when I was going through my basic training in IT, they had not only the community at Brookmead, but some Rhinebeck community also send me letters when I was at my lowest, when I was going through it. So with this community and the pavilion, they're hosting stuff for veterans, older crowds, younger crowds. It brings everyone together and making more possibilities for everyone. And I know it's really on the fly, so I had no preparation, but that's all I really have to say is they're bringing everyone together no matter what statute or limitations. Thank you.
She's the president of the resident council for
She wanted to give you guys each one of these pamphlets.
want to say something? This is your microphone.
Good evening.
I've been at Brookmead for 4 years now, and I'm a resident actually, but there's nothing they wouldn't do for me. Anything goes wrong, they take care of me and everyone that needs help there. And the activities, you cannot beat them anywhere else. This is Christine, and she's the head of activities, and she does a wonderful job. We have birthday parties. They acknowledge everyone, and it's amazing how they know everybody's name there. You could be walking down the hall, and they'll greet you. And I think that's a wonderful thing, because not everybody is that kind to their, peers. And to do that is a wonderful thing, that they know you. You're not a number, you're a person, and that's the best thing of all. I want to be acknowledged as a person. I don't know how much longer I have in this world, and I want to enjoy whatever I have, and they do a job like you wouldn't believe. And I think this is why I'm surviving, I'll be honest with you. And everyone here can vouch for that. Now this is Christine, I think she'd like to talk.
My name is Christine Marshall. I'm an activities director. I'm also a CNA. I've worked for Brookmead for 18 years. I've gone through other bosses besides Karen, but Karen has been the best boss. She's really turned Brookmead around. And now I'm working under Brian, which is, he's just as good, but I have to say, Karen, you're the Karen has turned Brookmead around to, she's made everything so good around there, and I've been through 3 different bosses. But the pavilion does intergenerational programs with the nursery school. I run the adult day program as well as the terraces and the meadows. And we just do so much work with providing activities, providing just all different kinds of programs for stimulation, for as cognitive, and just keeping everybody busy. And I couldn't think of a better place to work. I've been there for 18 years, so that says it in itself. I couldn't think of a better place to be. So we do nothing but good stuff there. So we just got to keep things going, and we just can't think of anything else to say. It's just a great place to be.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Donna Warner. I'm a member of the community, and I live over here on Beach Street. And Brookmead is a part of my community. I just want to say 2 things. That when I retired back here, my grandparents had a dairy farm in Hyde Park in 2012. And before I decided where to come back to, I looked around at all the different resources, and of course I picked Rhinebeck because it has upstate films and Northern Dutchess Hospital and a beautiful library, and because it had Brookmead. I live alone, and I cared about where I was going to go in the future and how I would fare. So Brookmead has been on my radar for a long time. But I've been probably to the pavilion maybe 22, 25 times in the last several years. And it's partly because of Rhinebeck at Home. They've had annual meetings there and small meetings, small group meetings. I've been there for the Christmas bazaar. I have a beautiful wreath that I bought there, I love. I was there for a candidates night. It was actually During an election season, I went there to vote. And I used to go to have coffee at Mark's Cafe because some of my friends moved from the village to Arbor Ridge, and we would meet there and have a wonderful time. It was one of the few places where you could go and sit and hear yourself or talk to someone that wasn't, it was quiet and comfortable. I'm sorry that that's kind of gone away. But the other thing I want to mention is that it is a beautiful space. And when I was on the Star Library Board for a number of years, we looked at future expansion. And we did go over to Brookmead to look at their facilities. These are the most gracious hosts, by the way, and I hope you will go over and take a look. Because there is almost nowhere you can go in the Rhinebeck area that has the kind of facilities that they do, as you heard, for the number of people. So if we wanted to have some kind of an event for 150 people, it would be there if they would allow us to be there, whoever we are. I actually just want to say I support defining what is the term? Accessory uses. As a member, as Brookmead being a member of the community, serving the community, that it be defined as broadly as possible, because I think, and frankly, I would not object to commercial uses, because it's a fabulous resource, and it's an accessory use by the community, of the community. Thank you.
I'm Naila Lynch. I live here in Rhinebeck in the woods, and I'm involved with Rhinebeck at Home. I've sent you a communication. For us, it's a plea to please define what they can do. We'd all be heartbroken to lose the opportunity to use the pavilion. They've given us an office there. I used to have office for the Office for Aging when I do my insurance counseling. I'm a volunteer for them. And we are always, almost always, able to have some kind of activity when we want to meet to, thanks to their hospitality. And as I said, we've had our two most recent annual meetings. There's no other place we could have 80 people be able to get into a space and have a wonderful gathering together and eat a meal and have a meeting. So please make it clear so that we all can feel more comfortable about it. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm the director of the Rhinebeck Community Nursery School, and my school has found its home at the community at Brookmead in the pavilion for the last 3 years. As a nursery school teacher, I feel like I should tell everybody to stand up and stretch for a minute. I don't know about you, but it's been a long evening. I will keep this super, super brief. We have a beautiful new classroom in the pavilion of the community of Brookmead. We have a state-of-the-art outdoor learning center / playground. And best of all, the children have made an incredible connection with the people at the community at Brookmead. This is possible through our intergenerational program. Our first year at Brookmead, we decided to parade around behind all the community centers. We went to all the community rooms. The children would all hold on to our walking rope, and in their other hand would hold an art project that they had just completed with pride. And we would sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, Row, Row, Row Your Boat, and all the residents knew the words and would sing with us. The second year we were there, we decided to start a program that we did with the adult day participants. They joined us for morning meetings on Wednesdays. We would sing our songs, we would do yoga moves with them, and the children would make cards and artwork and hand them out to the participants. This past school year has been our most expansive intergenerational program yet. We started STEM building. STEM is science, technology, education, and math. Sorry. Engineering, thank you, engineering, I knew that. And we would bring our Duplos and our Duplo people and our magnet tiles and our building blocks on trays, and we would pair children and seniors to build and create together farms and zoos and playgrounds and houses, whatever they were interested in and whatever they wanted to make. And we saw some amazing, amazing relationships and interactions. All of these intergenerational programs are possible because we are allowed by Brookmead to use that event center space to support our fundraising, which is our poinsettia sale in the fall, and our flower basket fundraiser in the spring. But most importantly, we have our Mother's Day and Father's Day breakfasts there, where all the kids, families come and watch them perform the Three Little Pigs and the Three Billy Goats Gruff. And at the end of the year, we have an art show and a graduation ceremony to really celebrate all the learning that's happened for the entire year. We have grandparents that come, siblings that come, and parents that come. I think we almost max out that event center, it's so big. The Rhinebeck Community Nursery School serves some of Rhinebeck community's youngest members, while the community of Brookmead serves some of its oldest. Thank you, Brookmead, for supporting us in our mission to serve Rhinebeck families and for welcoming us into your community so that we may learn and grow together.
My name is Chelsea Moore. I'm the director of nursing for the Baptist Home. I've worked there for 21 years. And when I started there, it was only the Baptist Home. It was the only building that was there. The community, our community grew, and it's amazing to watch that. And to see the happiness on the residents' faces when they go over there just to eat lunch. Even their family members will bring them over there on days just to eat, socialize with their families. It's amazing to see, and we need to keep that open. Like the residents are the most important people in this community, and to keep them united with their families and provide them a space to just be like normal, like have a normal life. We really need to just keep it open. It's an amazing community, and it's comforting to see how the residents react to that unitedness.
And by the way, no one's suggesting shutting this down or anything like that. We just want to get a better definition of what the accessory. I've heard that a couple of times, keep it open, don't shut it down. That's not what we're here for. We're just here to try to better define what the uses are. Does anybody, I'm afraid to say it almost, does anybody else want to speak or be heard, or perhaps give us some historical background on this? Mr. Trimble?
And I thought I was retired.
You weren't retired, but I dragged you out of it. What part of the board's job here is to do a little searching of the history and going back and trying to find out what the parties intended. And we weren't part of the planning board in 2017. We weren't there. We don't know what the discussions were. We do have documentation, but it's better if we can bring people out of retirement who are actually dead. And if you remember something.
We'll do our best.
All right.
Michael Trimble, I live out in Slate Quarter Road, and I was the chair of the town planning board back in 2017. And we had an application from Brookmead. They had assigned Optimus Architecture at that time to represent them for the planning board. So they're the ones who we actually dealt with. They provided us with a fairly detailed list of what they wanted to do to this building. It was to be an adult daycare center, was the primary use, and they described how that was going to function, what the function was going to be, what people they were going to have. They were going to have transportation to bring people in to use this facility. And there was also the accessory use part of that, which would be other things such as the other facilities that they have there. That you all have out there for the residents there, for people coming in on a daily basis, family members come in, things like that. One of the problems that had come up And I remember that I met with, I think, Ryan and John in his office about 2 years ago.
Could you move the mic a little bit?
Is this better?
Yes.
At Sean's office to go over, I was the acting zoning enforcement officer at the time, and I received a couple of complaints about a couple of activities that were going on that people thought weren't correct because they were basically catering to outside people who weren't Brookmead residents or family or things of that sort, the bake shop, things of that sort. And so I sat down with them and discussed the problem. And the problem was, in the district, the RC5 district, none of those uses, event center, bakeries, none of them are allowed, period. Now, as an adult daycare center, those uses are allowed for the residents, for family residents, for day users, things of that sort, but not for the general public. It's a legal issue, is what it comes down to. What Brookmead does is wonderful, but there's still this one legal issue here. The planning board does not have the authority, when it approved the accessory uses, to allow event centers bringing in people, weddings, things of that sort. We don't have the authority to allow a use in a district where it's not allowed. The zoning board of appeals can do that, and you would apply for a use variance from the zoning board of appeals to do that. The other thing is to go to the town board and ask them to amend the zoning law to allow certain uses in the RC5 district which are not currently allowed. Those are the two things that I think I discussed with Brian and with Sean, that the only legal way I saw these things to be allowed to continue for the general public, not for the people of Brookmead. At no time was there any desire to end any of this for the people of Brookmead or the different users of Brookmead. It was for the general public. The bakery, you can see ads in that Rhinebeck Life magazine soliciting people to come get their Christmas cookies, things like that, for the general public. Well, the bakery is not allowed. No one can do that in the RC5 district right now. So what we have here is not an attempt to close down a good facility. It does wonderful things. There's no one questioning that. There is a legal issue. And quite frankly, I think the interpretation by this board would be very helpful, but I think it's probably, my own opinion, it's going to come down to going to the town board and asking them to either amend the zoning law to allow certain uses or to expand the allowed uses for an adult daycare center beyond what they would be right now. That way, that can clean it up. Those are the only two solutions I can see, so this doesn't happen again. But I want to emphasize, no one is trying to close down Brookmead or any way denigrate what they do there. The daycare center there, the whole intergenerational thing, that came from the planning board working very hard to get that in there. It was not easy because it's not allowed. But we felt that it could be allowed as part of an adult daycare center because we could see the great value there. So quite honestly, your volunteers, your planning board, people like that have done a great deal to allow Brookmead to be what it is. I think there's a legal issue here that this board is going to address, and I think the town board is going to address it. And I think you may at some time want to sit down in front of the town board meeting, like you're here tonight, and say, we need this done. So.
Thank you.
I hope that helps.
No, it absolutely helps, yes.
Can I just ask him one question?
Sure.
One of the interesting comments, like selling cookies, if the Brookmead Foundation is doing it as a fundraiser, is it not allowed that we do that kind of fundraiser? I think that's the catch-22 here. It's the foundation selling cookies.
That's
It's
one
not
of the things I think
the
this board is
nursing.
going to help you try to do to
Yeah.
help you sort that out.
Okay.
If you're a nonprofit organization, I assume it's a foundation
Yes.
nonprofit.
Yeah,
Well, then, as a nonprofit, yes, you can do things to raise money as a nonprofit, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lawyer can help, clarify some
So
things.
I
have a question, a follow-on question to your question.
Yeah.
So, bake sale.
Yes.
Could be a bake sale because I'm a baker and I want to use their facility to sell my things. That would be a commercial use.
That would be a commercial use, yeah.
And I wouldn't be related to the Brookmead community in any way.
Correct.
I could be a bake sale by the foundation, and that's allowed
If
because
you're
it's.
working with them, and money's going to the foundation, it's not going.
Yes.
But if I'm Catherine Clark's foundation, that does good work all the time, and I want to have a bake sale, and I want to ask them. Yes, I'm a 501c3, but I'm not part of Brookmead. I'm a sister organization. And I go and ask to have a bake sale, not allowed?
I would think you probably did the same way as the nursery school that has different sales. And it's usually like set a sale, and things of that sort, there is money. They're also a nonprofit.
And I think that
Just to clarify, one more thing, our art and craft fair at Christmas, which is, the art and craft people have asked us to run it multiple times. We just rent a table out, and that's a fundraiser, you know. The different art and craft people in the community pay us, I forget, $20 for a table for that event.
This is where it's getting.
So this is where it gets,
and if I may, this is exactly
Just
where.
saying, no,
I'm
sorry,
so sorry.
just because, you know, we're taking minutes and we're having recordings, we don't really got a lot of back and forth, so, or if you would just have, rather than be a real back and forth, you could make a comment and then it would maybe be addressed, but if you could also speak to the microphone, just so everyone can hear too what the comments are. Thank you, sorry.
So, just to keep clarifying.
I'll go ahead with you.
Okay. The dividing line then is really between commercial use and a broad
Exactly.
spectrum.
If you look at
of
Bay Shop,
501c3
Event Center, all those different things, they're in the commercial section of the use table, not the residential section or the general use, or the general use section, in the commercial section. When the town did Event Center, if you look at it in the zoning law, it's a couple of different lines. It tells how many people you can have. It's very sketchy, and the only place an event center is allowed in the town of Rhinebeck is in the ORP, where Rudy's now has a state-of-the-art auto repair and service area. But that's, at the time, for some reason, they decided they didn't want to have event centers, or they didn't want to deal with the issue at that time. So they stuck it over there, and it's still there. So there's a lot, the town board really needs to get into this, and they've known this for years. We have one of our estates along the Hudson, you know, they have weddings, they do events, they do those sort of things. It's not legal. We finally have a short-term rental law. We have probably 80 short-term rentals throughout the town of Rhinebeck, and none of them are legal. But there was never any enforcement because there was no law which you could really point to say, well, this is how you can get legal, this is how you can do it. Now we have a law. Well, for event center, for these other things, we need a town board to help, and with your help, to define what some of these terms are, what some of these uses are, and then to go ahead and amend the zoning law so that it can be done. No one wants to handicap it. I mean, I'm 72 years old. God knows where I am. Please don't think anyone wants to do that. They don't. But they want to make sure everything's legal because that just cleans things up.
So Michael?
Yes.
Sorry. I can't let you retire totally yet. So I think you outlined three possibilities. One which you have mentioned many times, which is to go back to the town board to amend the zoning law. That would be one thing. One thing is for us to clarify within the constraints of the law as we interpret it now, be more specific about the uses.
Instead of a two-parter there, you can define what the accessory uses would be and define whether it's legal for the planning board to approve those accessory uses, even if some of those uses were not allowed in that zoning district.
Okay. I think I understood. Did you understand that?
Yes.
Good.
And we're kind of going to be, I think, really a stopgap measure until 10.
Exactly.
That sounds like something. But there was another thing that you said, is they could apply to the zoning board of appeals
For a use variance.
for a use variance.
Which basically...
Which seems kind of...
I think that, exactly, this is a major situation, because if you give a use variance for certain commercial uses to anyone in that district, you're going to be bombarded by people on property.
And a use variance
Well, no, I
is so
understand.
difficult to get. I mean, the proof that has to be shown, it's astronomical. They're very rarely granted.
The town board, I think you can make the case, you made it here, I think you can make the case that the zoning law should permit this and should allow this to go forward. But it really needs to be legal so that you don't have potential problems down the road.
Yeah, now that I understand what that third option was for the use variance, as Scott said, it's very difficult to get, and it requires volumes. It'd be much better to go to the town board.
Absolutely, that's what they're there for.
You know,
Yeah.
Besides, you guys are volunteers, they're not, so.
Well,
Yeah, they're getting paid.
That's right.
If I may, to piggyback up, does anybody on this body or our stage here, does a nonprofit umbrella somehow give us coverage anywhere? Because there's the NFP for Brookmead, and there's some nonprofits that are entities that are on that space. I mean, I know
The
the
answer,
answer.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
I think it gives you some
I mean,
cover, but
so
it depends on
what is provided in the use table is really what the use of the property is, what the property is being used for, not necessarily the owner or the operator. Especially since when you design a use table, it's a use that runs with the land, is not associated just with whoever is currently owning it. So currently under Rhinebeck zoning law, there's nothing specific about not-for-profits using it that I can recall, but certainly that's not what the use approved for this program was based on.
So what I've heard, we got to figure out a temporary fix here and then get into the, so let's just
have them go after, not go after, but bring to your attention.
Yeah, so how,
Hey, just as an example, you know, we had the issue with accessory structures and a tiny little structure can be an accessory structure. We had to change the light because it was crazy. You know, making, the first
Can you
one
guys
put a
just go over,
generator in the
I don't know
house.
if you can hear you in the back.
Outside the house. Oh, okay. No, these things come up from time to time, and Michael may remember this, but we had a spat of applications which, if a person wanted to put a generator next to their house, they had to, it was deemed to be an accessory structure, and it was insane. And ultimately, it got to be such a problem that people went to the town board, and the town board changed the law so that an accessory structure had to be a certain size, so you didn't have all these things. So the law's not perfect, and the town board is there to listen and often amends the law to make it work, because sometimes it doesn't, as in the accessory structure thing we had years ago.
Attached garages used to be considered accessory structures, and that became problematic, so.
They still are.
They still are, yeah.
It still is problematic.
So if I may, I just wanted to point out one thing. Ms. Clark, you're really putting your finger on an important distinction, because sometimes people can talk about a bake sale as, advertisements for a bake sale somehow being a commercial enterprise. This was never designed to be a profit center. It was designed to be a community resource. And I think that the board, despite I appreciate the dialogue about the different options that Brookmead has, but this board is in a very unique position to make a determination as far as what these accessory uses encompass. And we have to keep in mind that at the time that these accessory uses were granted, Brookmead was a non-conforming use. Everybody knew what was going on at Brookmead. And it's the fact that, like I said at the beginning, it's the uses that are incidental to the primary use of the property as a senior living facility, senior living community, that we have to keep in mind. And I think it's very important, the distinction that you brought up about whether it's a 501c3 that's operating something or it's some private organization that's clearly operating it for profit. So I impress upon the board to keep that in mind when they're going through the different comments that have been made and the different ways to look at this. I appreciate the time to speak again.
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you for coming down and sharing your insights from the board. Very helpful.
I hope it helped, but I would also say it's the only time I've ever been cold in the last 10 days.
thank you, Michael.
All right, I am going to ask one more time, but I'm going to tell you before I ask one more time, if anybody wants to speak, it's my intention to keep the meeting open because we did get a lot of information.
The public hearing.
Yeah, public hearing, that's what I'm saying. So I'm going to keep the public hearing open. I'm going to make a motion to keep it open so that we have another public hearing next month, okay? Just in case somebody wants to, add additional information, you can send additional letters. You'll be able to speak at the next meeting if you want to, if you don't feel up to it tonight, that kind of stuff. But I don't want to discourage you. If you're up to it tonight, is there anybody else who would like to be heard tonight?
Second.
Okay, so at this point in time, we'll make a motion that we keep the public hearing open. We continue the public hearing until, Gretchen?
August 21st.
August 21st. Okay, and at that time, we'll have had an opportunity to bore through the historical documentation and things like that and get a better idea of the what occurred back in 2017 and the intent. Again, if you want to supply us with additional information, we've got loads of emails, letters, and everything else, but if somebody, if you want to add to that, we'll take that and make it part of the record. And if you do want to speak the next time around, we'll entertain that as well. So again, I just want thank you very much, everybody, for being respectful. And this was a great meeting. Everybody got to be heard, and this is the way it's supposed to be. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's finish the motion. Sorry, I have a short attention span. We make a motion, we continue the public hearing until August 21st. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right. So we'll see you folks on the 21st.